It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, I'm going to start the week off with an HP post. Tomorrow at 5, HP publishes their third quarter numbers. So probably on Wednesday, I'll do an episode on those. But ladies and gentlemen, I was on LinkedIn and I see this post out there, put out there by Enrique Loris. Here's the picture. It says it's time to amplify. And it was talking about the Amplify, HP Amplify North America meeting. Getting everybody together so they can amplify the program, I guess. You know, a lot of people don't like that program. I'm one of them. I think it's a big threat to the dealers. Anytime you have to give OEMs, especially overreaching OEMs, a ton of data, it's something to be concerned about. But I read this post and I want to share some thoughts on that post because it's really ridiculous, kind of what I concluded with the post. I want to share that with you. But I came up with a byline for our friends over at HP. Because they're getting the dealers together and, you know, they're trying to convince them that Amplify is a good thing. And they need a byline so the dealers could really understand what this Amplify thing is all about. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to use this byline I created for HP, but they're more than welcome to use it. So without any further ado, let me just share with you what that is. Here it is, folks. Our future, our customers. A future built on the backs of resellers. Our future, our customer, a future built on the back of resellers. Because that's kind of how I see Amplify. You know? We're preparing for the future so we can have those customers direct without you. And in the meantime, we need you to do everything you can to help us get access to those customers. I mean, that's kind of how I see Amplify, and I'm not the only one that sees it that way. I know a lot of dealers are upset with the intrusiveness of this program. I mean, I'm not the only one. But ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump right in there and look at this post that was put out there on LinkedIn this weekend. So it was published by Enrique Loris. He's talking about what a wonderful time it was to see all the resellers. There he is on stage again. You know, people laughing, having a good time, you know, talking about stuff. And here's something I find so interesting. This post had 883 likes, but only 2 comments. 883 likes, but only 2 comments. I'm thinking, how is that even possible? I mean, I was going to put a comment on there and ask a question or two, but I'm not allowed to. It says you can't comment unless you're a first connection, I guess, to Enrique Loris. I'm sure they filter that out. They don't want anybody asking Enrique Loris or any HP executive any kind of questions. I mean, where they'd have to actually answer something with substance. They do not want to have any of that going on. That's probably why I wasn't invited to that North America meeting, because I would have sat right up front and I probably would have asked Enrique some questions, and you know, the audience would have really loved the questions I was asking, because if it was an audience of resellers and dealers, they probably have some concerns about the Amplify agreement. I know there's probably some little tiny micro dealers out there that think HP is the greatest thing in the world because they don't have enough customers to worry about HP taking data from. But in the real world, those mega dealers, those friends of mine that I know out there with these big dealerships, they don't really want intrusive OEMs. They don't like overreaching OEMs. They really don't, folks. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, only 2 comments, and the only reason is because you're not allowed to put them on the post. What if I could come up with some comments? I'll share those here today on the end of the day with Ray. And then I'll go ahead and I'll share what I would, you know, think Enrique Loris would answer those with. What kind of answers would he have to the comments that I could put? So let's just go through this and see what happens, folks. So I went ahead and I put together some comments. Let me just read through these real quick for you. Here's one. Thanks for providing my customer an easy route directly to you. Do you need any more data? Signed, too weak to fight. There's a dealer, kind of gave up, you know. Hey, thanks for providing my customers an easy route directly to you. Do you need any more data? I'm ready to go play golf. I mean, that's probably what I'm thinking when it's signed, too weak to fight. My customers love your e-commerce. I do too. I don't have to worry about selling online. After all, you have all my data. I can't compete. Signed, hassle-free business exit. Must be, maybe they work at the same company. You know, thanks HP. You built this great, wonderful e-commerce site. We're giving you our data of our customers, and you don't need me anyway. Here's one. Will HP be auditing dealer tax returns along with bank statements? Signed, new IRS associate. You know, or the IRS. You know, they hired these 80,000 people. Are they going to get together with HP folks? Hey, you know, you guys do a really good job auditing dealers' bank statements. Maybe you could kind of help us audit tax returns. And HP's probably thinking, ooh, we'd love to do that. We could find out all kinds of information doing that. Anyway, that's an interesting comment. When businesses reduce print needs by 50%, will HP go bankrupt? Signed, shareholder facing reality. You know, I'll talk about their finances later this week, but you know what? 60% of their revenue comes from notebooks. I mean, as print continues to get pressured, they don't really put a whole lot of investment into the company other than buying back a whole lot of shares. We'll talk about that in a second, but that's a great question. That's something that Eureka should probably answer, right? Here's one. Is HP leadership liquidating cash from company based on belief HP's future is bleak? I mean, think about it. We see some of these senior leaders selling off their stock, leaving the company. I've talked about that in a couple of episodes. Do they think the thing's bleak, the future's bleak? I mean, that's a great question, comment. Will HP allow a reseller petition against Amplify to be placed on their website? Sign, where do I sign? Let me just read that comment again. Will HP allow a reseller petition against Amplify to be placed on their website? Signed, where do I sign? Folks, this is a great question. I mean, HP, you know, they want to be friendly to all the dealers and the resellers. Will they put a place on the HP website where dealers could go sign a petition against the Amplify agreement? And that way they could kind of cause some issues to be raised, and they could talk about these issues in an open forum. I don't think that's going to happen. Over here. Will HP have a seminar on how to hold customers hostage with chip technologies, or will HP just do that direct? So we've seen a lot of the controversy around these chips, right? Putting chips on the machines, and then the chips, they push out the firmware, and then they don't allow the other non-OEM toner to work. It shuts down the machine. And I guess this person's saying, can you teach us some of that so we can hold our customers hostage? Maybe with some of our other brands. That's interesting. Signed, Gangster Selling. Gangster Selling. Interesting question. If my end user discovers that HP Amplify Impact is greenwashing, will HP help create a better lie? Well, that's kind of a bold question. Signed, I hate lying to customers. Let me read that one again. If my end user discovers that HP Amplify Impact is greenwashing, so we know what the HP Amplify Impact is. That's about all the green stuff. You know, they're so green friendly, but yet they don't allow you to use non-OEM toner. They push out firmware that blocks out non-OEM toner. They make people throw it in the trash can. I've talked about that many times. But yeah, signed, I hate lying to my customers. That's a pretty tough question. When will HP admit they failed miserably in the A3 disruption? Signed, you missed the real disruption, A4. I mean, folks, you know where I stand on this. The stupidest thing I think HP ever did, right? I mean, I can't be the only one that thinks that way, but, you know, standing on stage telling the whole world they're going to disrupt the A3, the $55 million A3 marketplace. Well, they didn't really disrupt it, did they? It's been a long, long time since that was supposed to happen, when in fact, they were like the A4 kings, and the whole world's now A4. They probably realize every day how stupid that was. They could that, but that's something Eureka could answer. I realize every day how stupid that was. Why does HP spend billions on buybacks? You know, they're doing these stock buybacks, billions on buybacks, instead of investing in employees and technology. Signed, ex-HP employee. I mean, seriously, that's a good question. Why do you spend billions on buybacks and you don't really invest in the employees? I mean, could you give the employees that money? I got a special slide for that coming up pretty soon. But folks, that's an interesting question. Will more HP leaders sell off stock and quit? Will more HP leaders sell off stock and quit? Signed, the Intel recruitment team. Intel recruitment team. That's kind of an interesting comment. Isn't that where Christoph Schnell went? I think he did. Yeah, remember he sold all his shares and ran over there to Intel a while back? I did a video on that. Great question. Has HP reached out to Keypoint Intelligence to suggest a new BLI award, most overreaching OEM 5 years in a row? I love those BLI awards for multiple years, but I'm thinking they should do that. HP, you know, they got a great relationship over there with Keypoint Intelligence. Just reach out and say, hey, could you guys give us an award? One of the BLI awards, most overreaching OEM? Folks, I think these are great comments, but you know, if you have the comments, you're going to have some answers. I just put a few together, folks. Okay, just a few, just kind of, this is how I'm thinking that Eureka is probably thinking if he read some of this stuff. Let me just read through these real quick. Thank you so much. We always believed that resellers would not have the confidence to succeed without us. They're banking on that. That's kind of how he'd answer some of those, you know, comments. We knew, we're banking on it. You don't have the confidence, especially those little tiny dealers. You need the big HP to help you be successful. Great, interesting. Here's another one. Actually, we were amazed at the amount of information resellers are giving us, so naturally we will keep asking for more. I would like to get tax returns and look at what resellers are making in true profit. We may be able to raise our cost. I mean, he's just being honest there, right? That's how I'm thinking he would answer that. Tax returns. Folks, think about it. They're so amazed at all the data you're giving them. Where's it going to end? The sky's the limit, according to these guys, right? Our e-commerce is gaining so many new end user customers. We can't thank resellers enough for the massive amounts of end user emails being provided us under the Amplify agreement. Keep giving HP all the emails, key operator email addresses and all this kind of stuff, and they'll just follow them around. When the people leave one job, go to another job, they'll be sending them emails to their places at home. Folks, this is what a great deal that dealers are giving HP all this information to make them so successful. Our consultants tell us employees don't understand enough about share buybacks and won't ask us to give them raises instead. That was his answer to the comment about the share buybacks. He's thinking, employees don't know enough about that stuff. That's too complicated. We'll just make it sound like it's a great thing for HP. They'll be fine. He's pretty much right on that. Our chip technology is getting so good, we will soon be able to force people to replace full toners by telling end users the toner is out of date. This is fantastic, especially as people are not printing anything in their houses as we thought. Can you believe this? What a fantastic thing you're going to come out with. Chips that will, if the toner just sits in the machine because the person's not using it, because people, they don't print hardly anything anymore. And then all of a sudden when they need to print something, it says, sorry, the toner's out of date. It could be an OEM toner. They're just saying, no, it's out of date. So we got you to only buy OEM toner. Now we want to make sure you buy that OEM toner on a regular basis. So if the printer sits idle, we're going to push out some kind of firmware update that will tell you that the toner's out of date, make you throw it away and buy a new one. This is ingenious stuff. Ingenious stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of a crazy video here today, but I'm thinking to myself, how can you have 883 likes without any kind of comments? So I figured I'd add those comments. But here's something. Mad Money, I want to talk about these buybacks a little bit because I think this is kind of an interesting point. I did some math. But Mad Money, Jim Cramer, back in February 22, this is Eureka saying this, we have committed to buy at least 4 billion of our shares this year, Laura said. We are going to continue to execute our plan because, again, we think it's a good investment, he added. So, folks, here's the reality. I did some math, okay? Since HP split in 2015, HP Inc. has spent $16.8 billion buying back its shares. $16.8 billion. They want to buy back $4 billion this year that we're in right now. I wanted to do raised math, so I did some raised math. $4 billion divided by 50,000 employees. I believe that's the number that's at HP today, 50,000 employees. That equals 80,000 each. So if they didn't buy back the $4 billion in buybacks this year, they could literally give everybody that works at HP an $80,000 bonus. Now, I realize that they're not going to do that. But that's just a number to think about. This is money that HP is spending to buy back their own shares. By the way, it looks like their average into these shares is about $28 a share. So it's not like they're hitting any big home runs. They got all excited back there when Mr. Warren Buffett jumped in and bought a big stake, stock went up, but it's kind of come all the way back down again. And the reality of it is, would that money be better invested in better technologies? Would that money be better invested in the people that work at HP? And maybe those people that work at HP would be really excited. They'd be so excited that they would be allowed to add comments on one of Eureka's posts because they'd be talking about really good stuff. The reason you don't allow people to put comments on your post is because you realize that a lot of those comments are not going to be friendly. But I'm not aware of any other OEM out there that doesn't allow comments on their post. Just saying. What are they trying to prevent the people from discussing? What are they trying to prevent the shareholders from hearing? Just some things to think about, my friends, because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.